Oh, hello. Feels like I got like a pimple right here. Alright, let's see if I can bring this up. There we go. Let me refresh this, see if it's in there. Hey, look at that. I don't know why that doesn't connect. That didn't connect last time. Make sure that this is going. Yes. Yeah. One of these days I'll hook up that other monitor. Okay, so went out and did some ran last night. Went out on the wheel this morning. And got some stuff going on. So, what I was working on last night that I didn't share because I was too lazy. So, I don't know if you remember, but the last time we were in here, I noticed an issue where when the game started, it would say that it was player 0's turn, but it would actually be player 1's turn. So what was happening is so on my begin play I have the spawn players. Wow, got something in my and if of course we go to that, so in spawn players, if it was a human player, I was possessing the player. But this ran for however many players it was. So that means that this was getting called, it would basically go to player 0 and then take control, and then it would run again, and then player 1 would get spawned, and then it would take control of player 1. And since I generally am only doing 2 players at a time, it's almost always the second player that gets possessed. So that's what was happening. So I moved this from here, and I decided to have the possession occur a bit later. So instead, up here on my begin play, I'm updating on the first turn. I go ahead and just set the possession specifically to the first active player. The first active player is always a human player. So there's that, and then I set that player's turn, which solved that. So hooray. Now I don't know how that's going to work for online. I might have to change the way that is set up, but for now that's working. So I'm just doing local multiplayer, and I'll worry about networking later. I was gonna do networking ahead of time, but it's such a pain in the butt to do networking because any change that I make, I have to build 3 different versions of the game to test it. I have to build the server, I have to build the main game, and actually you can kind of see that here if I hit the drop down. I have to build the client version, the server version, and then the main one. And then I have to distribute those to different machines, and then I have to test them, and if something breaks, I got to repeat that process. So it's just, I guess, to get a working product, it's quicker to do local multiplayer than it is to do the network multiplayer. Although, realistically, they say you want to design with whatever your main thing is in mind. So, like, design with security in mind, design with networking in mind. Because later when I go introduce those things, I have to do a bunch of workarounds and rewrite some stuff to make it compliant with whatever it is. So it just kind of saves headaches, but it's whatever. Anyway, so the other thing that I did was I updated the player names. So I wrote a function here, where's begin play, for generating default player names. Right now the players can't enter a name, so there's just going to be player 1, 2, so on. But they show up as not friendly names to look at, so I'm basically made friendly versions of the name. But this was actually annoying. So you can see my rant, and I'm going to be testing some stuff today. But normally when you want to pass a string to something, let's say string my string, and we'll say that's equal to, I don't know, hi. Well, you're supposed to be able to just add strings together, you know. So if we were to run this, we would get a single string that says hi mom. Although of course it would be squished together. I'll put a space here, right? That's called concatenation. You can concatenate strings, and if you were to do, you know, this, it would convert this to a string, and then add these together. So it would say hi mom 5 as a single string. But that doesn't work in Unreal. They have their own. They don't use the default string. They use fname, fstring, and they've got like 4 different ways of writing text. They are fname, fstring, ftext, and then there's the text macro. And there might be some more. What did I say, 4 or 5? There's like a whole bunch of them, right? F string, I think, is the biggest, and then it goes f text and then f name. So if you don't need, I think it was like f string was 40 bytes long, and then f text was 20 bytes, and then f name was like 4 bytes, something like that, if I remember correctly. But you can't just concatenate these things, so there's a whole headache of how these are working. So since the character names, I don't need to have all that data, I made them all f names. And you can, and I'll show you what was happening here. I'll leave this one active, and I will disable this one for now, just so you can see. So you can do this, right? I can pass that directly in, and if I save and play, you can see that there is an implicit or automatic conversion of a default string type to fname. That does happen. And actually, let me see if yeah, you can see the documentation here. So creating f names, it's f name whatever the thing is, and then the recommended way of passing information into an f name is to do f name and then the text macro and then some text, although it will accept it by just doing it as a raw string. It will take it that way. Now it says f names can only be converted to f strings and f text, and can only be converted from f strings. I haven't fully tested that, but I was going to play around with it. So you can go from f name to f string, so like this. So this is a test head string, and this is a test head name, and there's a toString operator on it, so you can do that. Although I don't think you need to. I think there's an auto convert. When I was playing around with these, it seemed like it was working. But anyway, so the game's up, and I'll make 5 players. I'll make 5 CPUs just so you can see the difference, and I'll make 10 planets. And I'll grab some players, and I'll grab the name here. So you can see I can pass in the name player just as a raw string, and that's allowed. And you can see the CPUs, they're whatever their names are. But what you cannot do is you cannot concatenate the strings. I'm going to try it here and see what I get, but it's probably going to tell me I can't do it. Yeah, so I can't do this. What you would normally do is, if I wanted to update the name, so here's my player index, I would just do player, and then +1, because it's always 0. It starts at 0, and I wanted to add 1 to it. So I would do this. Sometimes you can do a 2-string operator on these, but that's not allowed. So I can't do that. In C# you can. You can't do it in C++, apparently. But this accepts. It says I'm allowed to do this. However, the way the fname operator, or the way fname kind of works, is not as you'd expect. Instead of it adding this back to this string, if it sees a number, it basically just ignores this plus. If it sees a number, it'll go through, and then it'll return the character in the list. It's kind of bizarre. Did I stop to start? Here we go. We'll stop it and then start it. Okay, so in here, if I run it, again, I'll get a couple of them. Well, that's way more planets than I'm allowed to have. Okay, so now if I go and do player, I grab this and I grab the name. Instead of getting player, I got layer. I basically just bit shifted the array of characters, and I removed one. And then the next player is air, and then your, and then and then I was like, okay, well, that was not the result I was trying to get, so I had to go and research how the F and strings work. See what I did there? So yeah, you couldn't do them that way. So the correct way to concatenate F names is this way. Now this works whether I pass in a string pointer or not, and I think the reason for that is, and I'll show that here. So if I hover over F name, it takes in an F string, and it doesn't say that it has to be a pointer. Creates an F name, will add the string to the name table if it does not exist. When UEF name outline number is set, we'll also add the combination of the base string and the number to the name table if it does not exist. So basically strings are put into a data table, and to avoid writing a string over and over and over again, it just looks at that list and then compares and then pulls the correct one. my understanding is how that works. That might be wrong, but that's how I understand it. But anyway, so it doesn't say that it has to be a pointer, but here in the documentation, to get an F string to go into an F name, they have it as a string pointer. But that seems to work just fine without it being a pointer. So this one I will not have the pointer, this one I will. And here we go with that. So again, I'll do a couple of these. And you can see that worked just fine. So player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4, player 5. And then the CPU worked the same. So documentation recommends, or at least the documentation shows, using an F string. Pointer. I'm clearly able to do it without the pointer. I don't think there's any memory issues for doing it this way, but I'm not 100% sure. So I was going to ask the forums that question, be like, hey, does it matter at the end of the day? I don't think it does, but I'll be cautious and run it with a string pointer for now. But because it accepts it's capable of accepting a raw string, so I don't know. So if you look at, and actually I'll go to the override. It'll be easier to kind of see what's going on with the overrides. So in the override, you can see, or all the overloads, basically. You can see. This is a wide char pointer. Wide char, wide char, wide char. And almost all these are pointers, right? This one is a reference. This one just compares, compare. But there was one that I was using on the list of overloads. And basically, the way an overload works is it functions as the same name, but it has a different signature. So whatever is in the parentheses, the parameters, that's your signature. So it'll just grab the one that has the matching signature. So as I pop into this thing, so if I hover over, you'll see it's this one. That's the structure that matches that signature. If I pop that off, I'm using fstring view, and that seems to be perfectly reasonable. It says inline explicit. We're doing this type. So I think it's fine. I don't think it's going to be an issue if you do it without, but throw caution to the wind. Anyway, the next function I'm setting up here is I'm naming the planets. Just because the planet names are not very nice. So when you're in the game, you know, it's planet _0_C or player _0_C. I want the names to be nicer. So this is just a quality of life thing, but it's one of those things that should be done at some point. So planet names, I'm pretty sure are F names. I'm going to go double check before I pass anything to them. Yeah, so it's an F name. And same deal, it's going to be an F name, and then F, I'm going to do a string pointer, F string. Semicolon that at the end, and I'm taking in the text of that, and this is going to be planet space. And it's weird that I'm doing a... I mean, it's in C++, %d takes the value of an integer and prints that out. It's just weird, coming, because I've been teaching Unity, for a while. So, but I work in Unreal a lot. So when I move between those two, some things that I do in C# that I don't really, I guess you could say I take them for granted at this point. When I come back to C++, I'm like, oh, well, that's a bit weird. But anyway, %d on that, and then comma, and I'm doing... I don't have anything special on the planet name, so I can just do I+1. That should be perfectly reasonable. And I can do the same thing for the asteroids. So I'm going to go ahead and just make another function. And I'm making these separate so that I can debug each one independently. I could just do them all at once, but... and we'll add that. And I'm just going to pop this in here. I think I have an asteroid list. The planets might have the asteroid list. Or no, the star gets the asteroid list. So star where are you? I've got a T array for the main for just an asteroid. I thought I had an asteroid list. Nope, I don't have one on there. I may have to come back and do that one later. I got a planet list. I've got the AI players. I get the star. I do not have an asteroid list. Alright, let me jump onto the star real quick. Where is star CPP? Okay, star CPP. Define star. Spawn planets, spawn orbital rings. I think I have an inner and an outer asteroid belt is what that's doing. I don't remember. We have the game mode. Yes. I won't do it there. This is where it's called, and you go to the actual spawner. I need to create that function. So I'll just do it under planet list, under references. It's going to be a T array. So that should create the list of asteroids. I need them in the list because it's going to be easier if when I'm making like a star chart or whatever, if I have all those active objects and I can reference them. Although technically I think I should be able to get them from the star, but well, no, the star doesn't have a list. Never mind. Okay, so asteroid list. Does the asteroid have a name? Asteroid, asteroid, asteroid. How am I doing those? I do have an asteroid stats. Let me search this for... I do. Asteroid stats, F-name. So... Sometimes I love me. Now, why are you angry? Oh, let me do this as the asteroid list. It would be under environments. Right? Yep. It would be SQ. Weird. Oh, it's environment. There we go. And then a misspelling. And then this one will be asteroid. Now I might give these some fancy names like AST dash and some random number. I don't know yet. But for now, this will be a little bit nicer to look at when you select one. You can't really dock at asteroids yet, but it's whatever. Look at that, asteroids are right there, so we'll get the name. Asteroids popped in as unnamed. Interesting. Oh, I didn't ever run the function. In fact, I didn't run the planet function either. Like, I wrote the functions, but I never called them. I pulled a student. I have students that are like, I wrote this function, how come you never called it? Silly. You said this is what it does, but you didn't say do it. And then I'll just run all those. Generate default planet. And then generate default asteroid names. Welcome to the stream, where I code things very badly. I've got better. Welcome, welcome. How you guys doing today? Alright, game's up. We're gonna test the names. Okay, so asteroids should now have a fancy name. There we go, asteroid 1. And then we got planet and planet 1. Yay. And the players should have all their names, right? So player, player 1, and then CPU. Yay. Now one thing, you know, as I'm writing these to have the nice names appear, I'm like, should I do them as, you know, because the array indexing is going to be 0 through whatever number, you know? Is that going to be confusing? Yeah. I mean, I know that player 1 is player 0. I know that just because I'm used to array ordering, but you know, I'm the only one really working on the project, so I guess it only matters to me. Okay, so the next thing I would need to do is make it so that when I select a planet, it would say the planet name and remove this C underscore nonsense. Can I select an asteroid and will it show up on the thing? I don't think asteroids register when I select them. And let's see that guy. I'm just kind of floating in space waiting for an asteroid. And we pick something that doesn't have that screen up. Huh. I don't see any, but I know we have some. I've got a crap ton of asteroids. I've got 30, 40 of them. I just don't know where they're at. There's one. Yeah, so selecting the asteroid does not register here yet, so I won't see that. How do you think I should do? So right now, if I'm at a planet that I own, here I'll just end turn. If I'm at a planet that I own, it just says owned. You know, would it be better to say the player's name here? What do you think? Like if I jump to a planet that I don't own, it's going to say that player, right? So I don't know what the correct way is. What do you think? Like, whoops. Should I just say the player's name regardless of, you know, like, is that intuitive enough? If I go here and it says owned, would you as a user go, okay, yeah, I own this one, you know? Or does it just go, well, somebody owns it, right? I'm trying to avoid ambiguity. Like if I jump here to planet 0, planet 0 is owned by player 0, so that's why his name's there. Should I just have all their names be there? Anyway. Like this one's owned by this AI. Alright. But anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just adjust how those names are being shown. Where does that happen? That happens under here. And whenever I select a thing, so this name variable and planet name. So planet name, I just have it called header text. It's not very helpful, but I guess it's okay. So header text. Let me find the references for header text. What am I doing here? Okay, so docked planet, get the name from the docked planet. Planet stats. I guess I'll split the pin. Oh, that's a mess. Oh, I am grabbing planet stats. Okay. I don't need to get this one then. So dock planet stats, and I should grab the name from planet stats. Where is name? There it is. So instead of getting standard object name, I'll get planet name. And that is going into which bubble? I'll put this in here. Switch this one to there. And we'll test that. Whoops. Yes. So it says Planet 5, and I'm owned on Planet 5. Planet 3. Planet 1. Planet 2. And they are in the correct order. So that's nice. And then I'll make this the player name. Go back into here. Boom, 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 boom. Then down here, planet stats owning player. Header text owner. Okay. And then down here, this is the owner name. And then how am I grabbing the name from this? Am I just doing name? Let me make sure. This is why I spend so much time going, should I put this in a thing, right? Because I have planet stats, and I have asteroid stats, and I have ship stats, and within those I have the names of the object. But for player, I don't have a player stats, I don't think. Nope, it's just out there. I think I really should have a player stats, just so I don't end up with ambiguous things like that. Consistency matters. But I'm going to pass this into here. we go. I think I can get rid of that one, and we'll compile, play it. So this one says owned if it's mine, and if I go to another one, CPU 3, I own planet 10, right? Yeah. CPU 1 has planet 2, CPU 8 has planet 4, so that's a lot cleaner. Planet 9 has player 2. So is that nicer? Is that cleaner? Like planet 3, CPU 3, CPU 1, planet 2. And then if I go to a planet that is owned by that player, it just says owned. When people are playtesting it, they'll let me know. But that looks a lot nicer. Okay, so what now? Let me go to my board. Where's my GitHub? I have all these tabs. There we go. Fix planet names. I did that already. Good to have a chart. And then this one I don't need. Alright. Now what do we do? What could be the next stage of things that needs to be done? Sometimes I'm mentally just not there. Alright, let's take a look at this log. Message pop-up. That means I need the message pop-up. Where are you at? Pop-up. I also need the child of that message, child. That comes in with the text block. the border. Okay, so on this, okay, so the text log, we check if it's not empty, we go there, that is showing the message. Generate the pop-ups for that. Unhidden. Okay, the message gets sent in on the C++ side. So I'll go there, we'll end here. And that happens on the collision for the ships. Okay. So,
there's a pretty big spider by the toilet, so he's still there when you go to the bathroom. Mary.
oh, he's just in my office, that's all. Okay, so we were on collision. On overlap. And then we send out these messages to here. So, okay, so I can go back to player. Okay, so it should already report the correct name. I did that already. So let's test that. Let's make sure that if I take over a planet, that I get the correct planet name. Although, when the game started, it should show me the correct planet name. I see a lot of people popping in and out, but I'm like, are they bots? Are they just here for... It's like, well, hello. I need at least 6 planets. Okay, so I started, I'm going to hit end turn. You gained planet unnamed. Well, I know this is not an unnamed planet. Because... yeah, name planet 6 is coming as unnamed. Why? I know why. Because the planets don't have names until after the players respond before the planet names are assigned. And that would be, let's go take a look at the game manager, or game mode here. So we spawn players, right? And we assign them a planet. And then we assign the names. So what I can do is, we'll hit stop, is instead of calling this here, I'll call it just before the players respond. So I'll just move these in here. Make sure I spawn the star. So spawn star. The star spawns everything else. Then I'll provide the names to the things, and then spawn. So that should solve that problem. Welcome! Whether you've been here before or not. Anyway, so I just moved the name assignments just after the planets are created. I was calling them after the players were spawned in, but by then the planets had already been assigned, so this should solve that problem. So if I hit OK. Wow. Alright, so that's an interesting conundrum. So when I moved those, it broke the whole naming system. Huh. Moving those broke the naming system. Well, that's peculiar. I wonder why. I mean, that made sense to me. Well, okay. So, I guess I won't put these here. It makes sense to, because the star spawns the planets and the asteroids. But, okay. I'll put those back to here. I'll go check again. That should be back to where it was, but I will still have the problem with the planet log being assigned incorrectly. Let's see. Yeah, that comes in unnamed, but the planets are named. Okay. I'm on planet 7. Let me make a couple things. And if I'm on planet 7, let me take over planet 0. End my turn. End my turn. Planet 6. Okay. So now on this, it does say I gained planet 1 and planet 2, although it gives me double planet. So I could fix that. But I don't know why I get unnamed in the beginning. It made sense that they were unnamed because the message was ascribed before. If I go back. Because on spawn players, yeah, so as the player's being spawned, it gets added to the active, gets added to that player's active list, or sorry, no. If I go here on home planet calls add to owning list, but that would happen before the names are assigned. But why? why then would moving the name assignments break the other thing? And I'm going to take this part off. Yeah, because order of operations, this spawns in all the planets. And then this spawns in the player. And there. With these being called after all this, it makes sense that they would get an unnamed planet. But when I moved it ahead of time, let me move just these two to here. Because I can't name the players until they exist, but I should be able to name the planets and the asteroids. And I'm going to throw a breakpoint here. Actually, I'm going to throw the breakpoint here. Because I want to make sure that all the planets are in before any spawning. Or before the names happen. Alright, so I'm going to spawn star. We're going to go ahead and step through. That's going to take me here. And then spawn star. We're going to create the star, pass in the number of planets, CPUs, and players. And then we're going to define the star. So let's continue on with this. I can skip. And we can continue, and then let's go into define star. Okay, so define star should give me the mass of the star. And then after all that is said and done, I guess I could remove this loop. This loop isn't doing anything right now. So we go down to planets, and then we call spawn planet. So that should happen pretty soon. We'll skip over these until we get to there. Okay. So now we should step in, and it should do a call for spawn planet. So spawn planet happens. I mean, I guess I could just assign the planet a name when it's birthed. C# is simplified, so it's called C# is what is called safe code because it obfuscates memory management for you. So you don't have to dereference things. If you want to create an object and destroy it, the garbage collector kind of goes through and pulls the memory for you and flushes that. Whereas in C++, you have to you have the ability to manipulate memory to a more precise detail, right? You have more control over that, but you also have the responsibility of dereferencing things at certain times and kind of knowing when to do that. So there's more risk of you creating a memory leak and crashing your game, or bricking the computer. You're not necessarily going to break it, but you could use up all the memory and then it'll shut off. So that's a potential thing. But you have more control. Whereas like on C#, it's a lot more simplified. One thing that I don't know if you were on earlier, but when I was trying to creating the names for the planets, in C#, I could just add the strings together and then pass it in. But then in here, because Unreal has its own setup for handling strings, you can't just add strings together. You have to do some extra work, so there's always that. Also in C++, you have header files. So anything you're going to use goes into a header file. You have to predefine everything before you use it. So any variable that is going to exist in memory long term has to be in a list. Any function that you're going to use, any method you're going to use, has to be predefined. And then you have your implementation file, so your C++ file. This is where you tell it actually how to work. It's just one of those things. And then whenever you pass references, you pass it by header. So like if I wanted to call my player, if I wanted to have a reference to my player, I would have to go into whatever file that is and make sure that I provide it with the address of that player's header file. Whoops, I clicked on a thing. But there's that player's header file. So it's a little bit more responsibility on how to manage those things. Memory leaks can be a bit scary, but they can be kind of funny. So all a memory leak is memory is not being freed or released when it needs to be. So you have a certain amount of memory that you have, like whatever, and whatever you make grabs that memory and doesn't let it go when it's done. So that memory is still kind of locked, and when the next process runs, it creates a new entity that grabs more memory, and that continues to happen. But if you don't release that memory, then you run out of memory, and then everything just shuts off, because your memory is what makes everything run. But there are also bad memory reads, misallocation reads, which are funny because, like, let's say you're trying to read a character from a sprite sheet. Instead of grabbing the face of the character or the hero, it grabs the wrong sprite sheet, and like in between like 4 frames, you might end up having one random frame of like some building from a different sprite sheet. You're like, well, why is that happening? Well, something's accessing the memory when it shouldn't have access to it. So those can be kind of funny, but yeah, you just want to be aware of the memory that you're managing. So when you started taking a look at Unreal, I had this issue with telling the difference between what the header file is for and the C++ file is for. Yeah, that's it can be a bit challenging when you first jump into C++, because it's like, well, what is the header file for? But it's really just a predefined list of everything you're using. So it's pretty much it's a predefinition. So you don't really declare anything until. So technically, this is the declaration of a function, right? This is the function declaration, where you describe the stuff that function is doing. This is the declaration. This is sort of like a it's like a pre-declaration. It's not. Trying to think of a good way of describing that, but basically this is a list of stuff that you're going to use that you can reference from other things. I don't know if that's a good explanation, but you're predefining everything before you use it. But the actual declaration would happen on the implementation file. Alright, so the planets are coming in unnamed. But they have to have names. Let's see. Yeah, so they're all unnamed. Which is weird. I could define all the names earlier. So this is a space, kind of like an RTS game. I don't know if you've ever played Conquest on Linux, but kind of the same idea, except instead of it being a 2D grid, it's a mix of real-time strategy and turn-based elements. The trick is trying to blend those two together, because I like being able to be in the solar system and move around and interact with stuff, but you also have to I have to consider how those different things are going to work, because if it's turn-based but some things are real-time, what's going to be turn-based, what's going to be real-time? That's the daunting task that I'm running into. Although today I'm just trying to fix the planet names and how they get how they're showing up. So like if I jump to, let me change my turn. So these should all be named, but they're not. They're not getting named when they need to be. Where are we at? So I guess I could name them instead of calling these here. I could do that when the planet is created. So if I go to define star, where is spawn planet? I could do that. I could do the naming part here. So what is it? F string print, and this needs to be actually, I can't call this here because I have to run this in a loop. So that can't go here. That would have to go on... where's the star at? So star... This is the loop for making the asteroids. Loop for making planets. I could do that here. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Just tinkering around and breaking code. Alright, so to do that here, I need a reference to the planet. I could store the spawned planet. Does this return? No, it's a void. To do it here, I would have to change the way this works so it returns the planet. So instead of doing that, maybe why are these not? So that's weird. It's weird that it's not, because if this runs and completes all of its tasks before running these tasks, then I should end up with the names in the correct order. Let's break this one. I want to see when this gets called. Hey, welcome to the stream. Alright, what is going on with this thing? So if you're just joining, I'm trying to figure out why the naming is not happening. So I was calling the names being generated here, which works, but the initial assignment of hold on, let me check this real quick. I'll get 4. Okay, so we're here. Let's go and take a look at that. So it does jump in, and let's see the planet list. Planet list has been generated, and there are 4 planets. Okay, that makes sense. What is the name of the first planet going to be? So I'm going to step out of that. Currently it is unnamed. I got the F string. Can we step over? Okay, so now that we've stepped over, that one should have been named Planet 1. We got confirmation on that. Yeah, so that was a successful name. The next planet in the list should not be named yet. So, whoops. Where's planet stats? Planet stats. There you are. This one's not named yet, but it should get named on the next cycle. So now we're here. I'm going to skip. So now I should have 2 of them that are named. Oops. Planet stats. And planet 2. Alright, so we'll continue. But this one's popping in as unnamed, which is weird. Let's go ahead and check here. So planet. And this is reporting unnamed for that guy. Reporting unnamed, unnamed, unnamed. Why? Why is that failing? You got me. I'm not sure why that's happening. So the original issue was that so the planets get spawned here. players get spawned in, and then I defined all the names. Well, when the player gets assigned its planet, it gets assigned the planet before the planet gets its name, so it was coming in unnamed. But the planets would get assigned a name. It was just the initial read would show up unnamed. But now that I've moved these up here, the planets and the asteroids, they should all get their names before the players get the planet. So they should receive a planet that has been named. But that does not seem to be happening. Huh. Because the actual object name is not nice. You know what I mean? It's not pretty. So like, let me unsearch. You know, asteroid 0, asteroid 1, asteroid 2. It's just not very pleasant to look at. You know what I mean? And I want that to show up here in a clean way. So if I break this, I'll show you the way Unreal returns the object name is not very pretty. So if I just pass in directly the object name, can't have that many. Oh, let me skip the breakpoint. Oh, that actually worked. That's just not very nice. I want to introduce a space, but that's not usually how it would run. It would, or it would pull up and be planet underscore something and then something else. But yeah. But also there's planet, where are you at? Planet 0. Most people don't think in array ordering, so by removing the 0 and just upping each planet's index by 1, it would be just more friendly. I guess I could, but yeah, there's no harm in changing the actual names. Let's see how Unreal appreciates that. Well, let me do it live. So it allowed me to do that live in editor. Yeah. So I mean that could work. What do you mean? Oh, you just mean like the directly on the object? Yeah. So if I every actor, so every object is an actor, I can get the actor name and rename the actor name, but the end result would be the same. Oh, let me go back and fix this. Breaking here. planet name goes there, and then that one there. But yeah, I could change the actual name of the object. Let me stop that. So if I were to go from on the planet, instead of getting its name from planet stats, I should just be able to get the object name. I might have to go a level up. I might have to cast it back as an actor. Hold on. Let's see if it still says object name. Not sure where it's at. Let me see. So under A, actor. Let's see, forward declaration. Because all actors should have a default name. Oh, I don't know where it's at. I'll have to dig for it. But it is a possible thing that I could try. Might have to go back to I wonder if it would be in U object. I have to go back to casting as a U object. I guess the shorter answer is I don't really know how. I can try get name. Well, get name only returns the name, but I can check the function of it. Let me see. It returns the F string. I don't see an option to change the name. Can I set name? No option for set name. Instead of config name, there's a pen name. Get full name and get path name. Let's try rename and see what rename allows me to do. Actor rename, Character new name, character. Okay. Let's try this. Can't rename. Rename takes in a tchar. Gonna do a tchar. It's gonna do. Let me try passing it in as an f string. All right. It didn't yell at me, so let's see what happens. I don't know where the actor name is hidden, but we'll see. Currently unnamed, but let's grab planet name here. So they're all named planet. So that technically worked, sort of. Although the name for in planet stats doesn't exist. But the object name did get renamed. So if I changed this, back to just getting the object name. That would, at least it should. Sure. That should come in as planet. So that does work. So yeah, that's an option. Let's see if that works. Because we get the object name from there. On the reporting from C++. That would be here. So I'll grab the object name. I'd have to get it as get name. Oh, that's silly. I was being silly. So let's see if that will subscribe the name to it in the beginning. That worked there. Well, it's still coming in as unnamed. This one says you gain planet 3. Which one is planet 3? Planet 3 should be on that third orbital. But I'm not reading it here. Well, that's weird. Why is it reporting planet with a number, but all of the names in the list are planet without a number? What are you coding right now? Santiago, what are you coding? I find most of the time when I'm programming, it's 90% thinking through what's going on, which is usually just silence and me just staring off into space thinking, and then 10% of me actually writing some code, and then I go, huh, why did that not work? And then I think about it. So the Broken Sigma suggested, instead of having my own name category, why not directly change the object name? So I'm experimenting with just directly changing the object name, though the results are equally as bizarre as doing it the other way. Yeah, because these all came in as planet, planet, planet. A little Rick and Morty reference. So weird. Hey, welcome to the stream. Right now I'm just banging my head on a rock. Oh, I guess I didn't save that. That might be why. So let's see if this one spits out a number. It just says planet. And then if I end turn, yeah, so the message that pops up is planet 1. but the name here is that one. Alright, what happens if I go to the next one? It's planet 4, so that has a number on it. Where's the number hidden? Where's it going? Doing a landing page? So you're writing for web design then? I do not envy you. HTML and CSS? Or PHP? Or one of the weird offshoots like AWS or Rust, like Java. So the Broken Sigma, I don't know if you're seeing this, but that's weird. It's giving me planet with a number, but the object name is being reported without a number. This message is being generated here. Is it Next.js or Node.js? Or the wait. Next.js, okay. No, I don't think that's a stupid question. So when I change the names here, I am assigning a number to it. But that number is not showing up here. But it is showing up here. Most of it is going to be fixing bugs. Okay. But that does pass. Like, that does read there. I just don't know why it doesn't read there. Alright. I guess back to the drawing board. Let's go back and we'll tackle it from here. Alright, so I'll revert this. So what was this? This was planet stats. Name. dot name. Alright, so I'm going to switch this back and we'll see what this... I feel like I'm running in circles though. So we'll do... and then I have to do toString, right? toString. So it's either change the object name and it be weird, or provide my own name and then it be weird. Let's see, maybe the number needs to be converted to a string, or have you checked if the object name actually changes in the outliner or hierarchy or whatever? Well, no, because if you, when we were looking at the example in the outliner, the name, they were all just named planet with no number, and that was showing up as planet with no number on the HUD, but the message log that was being reported had the number. See how that got weird? Alright, so doing it this way, those come in unnamed. And those are unnamed. Fantabuloso. Spinning my wheels here. Let's come up to here. I know a simple fix. Simplest fix, which is to just not report the planets on the first read. Because if I do this and I run it, the naming is correct. It's just not correct on the first read. But let's see if it's correct on subsequent reads. Because if it is, then I can just skip the initial check. This is a space real-time strategy. Technically, it's a turn-based RTS. So some elements are in real-time, some of it turn-based. So if you ever played Conquest on Linux, it's kind of the same idea, except instead of having a 2D grid, you're in space, and you actually get to, navigate the orbits, which I think is fun. Okay, so Planet 5 came in good. And of course the planets, they have an object name now. And then this is array ordering, so planet 0 through however many, but you can see that they're updated. So planet 0 is planet 1. So that works. If I n-turn, this one came up no name. And I'll just n-turn a few times here. Alright, so planet 0. Let me go take over a couple other planets here. I'll build some stuff. So there, right now everything kind of builds instantaneously, but eventually these are going to be turn-based elements. But I'm going to go get this planet, and then I'm going to end my turn until I circle back. Huh. I didn't get a message. Either I didn't get a message because I got it before. Alright, let me grab a different planet. Let me get one that's farther out. So I own planet 5. Let me grab this one. And I'll end turn, I'll wait a few seconds. something's out of bounds. I'll continue. Okay. So the report came in. I got planet 3. So the name is showing up correct here. It's just not on the first read. Although I did get an out of bounds error, which is weird. I think I'm getting an out of bounds error because it went to check the log. And the log was empty. I think that's what happened. So the actions that I've put forth should only really happen at the end of everybody's turn. So like these need to go into a queue of actions, and then once all the turns are done, those actions are executed in real time. And then you get another round of turns. You just keep doing that. So I'm mixing those two genres, I guess, turn-based and real-time strategy. I don't know how it's going to work, but that's part of the experiment. Okay. But that part came up correct. So guess that's okay. I don't know where that out of bounds error came from. So Santiago, what is your what's your website, if you don't mind me asking? Are you building it for yourself? Or are you doing it for somebody else? So let's go to this message. So I don't think I should get a out of bounds error for this, because this checks if it's not empty. That's a safety check. So I don't think that's what fired. It happened when I ended the final turn. Let me do that again. I'll put, I don't know. Let me do 1 player and 1 CPU. 2 planets. I'll just keep ending turns and see if I get another bound error. Nothing bad there. Okay, let me go from... So planet 1 should be on this orbit, so planet 2 is here. Let's make some ships and very quickly take over them. Oh, that's interesting. So, I don't know if you noticed, but in my send ship list, this is the default name of the planet. You know, the Brook and Sigma, we didn't check that with against the object names to see if it showed up there. I didn't check that. Okay, that's pretty cool. I do not end the web designer. Whenever I build websites, I just do them as quickly as I can. I leave the pretty up to other people. Okay, so planet 1, planet 0. That's weird. They got named out of order. No, that does make sense. It's array ordering. So planet 0 is my home world, and then planet 1 is technically planet 2. So that makes sense. I confused myself with array ordering. Anyway, I take over that, end turn. Okay. So it happened after taking over the planet. I think what is happening is when they're losing. So game mode base. I'll just follow what the error is pointing at here. So active player list should be 0, and then inactive player list, we should have 1 character there. Oh, you know what might have happened? I sent 2 ships, and the first ship ends up winning the fight. The second ship hits, but then tries to win, basically, but there's no enemy there. That might be what's happening. But I'll continue. So I gained planet 2, so that works. Let me exit and start again. So 1 and 1 and 2. I'm on planet 1 again, so I'll take this one. I'm only sending 1 ship this time. 1 ship this time. 2 ships this time. I'll fire the ship. I'll end the turn. Ship hit. Nope, it happened on 1 takeover. I don't think star matters. So we got an internal flag here. Class. It's not showing me which array is breaking, so would be nicer if it just pointed to that specific array. Yeah, that is true. You know, when I was doing web design, like, back in my day, people were yelling at me for having such a big banner, you know? And now hero pages are a thing, and the banner takes up the whole frickin' screen for, like, half a scroll. It's like, come on, guys. Pick one. And now everything's, you know, you got hero pages everywhere. I don't know. So it says on the game mode, I'll hit continue. Tonight Game Planet 2. Let's look at the game. Actually, I'm going to rerun it, but I'll look at the game mode itself. And grab the game mode. List, active player list, and then planet list. So right now we have 2 players. I'm on planet 2 this time. So I'll grab planet 1. Okay, so they got shifted. That makes sense. Then I get break. Let me look more thoroughly here. Well, I don't get out of bounds when I end turn normally. So I don't think I have too many objects on that cycle. I wonder if what's happening is there are, so let's say I just have the 2 players in the game, right? So me and one other player. And then the ship hits while I'm on that player's turn. That player gets removed from the active player list. So when I hit end turn, the number of active players is no longer 2. So now I'm 1 index out of bounds. I think that's what's happening. Pretty sure that's what is happening. But that would probably be negated by right now it's not actually turn-based. So right now I have to fire off the ship, and then to get the message to pop up I have to end my turn, because the message log clears in between turns. So I have to end the turn, wait for it to happen, end turn to see the message log pop up. But that creates a conundrum because that player no longer exists. But I think that's the reason why. Okay. So I'll add an item here. And I'll leave myself a note to check it later. Then I'll look at it when that way I don't magically forget about it and then I have to come back to it like 3 months later and go, oh, what is this thing? No, I have a log. Okay. Oof. What's the next thing that I could do while I'm here? Oh, that's the thing I was going to try to resolve. In that. The way I'm going to solve this is I'm going to band-aid it by where is my game mode H5? Oh, I'm in it. Duh. Okay, let me make a bool. So we have game 1. I'll just make one that is game started. And then I'll have that flag after begin play. Although I am not following my naming convention. Hold on a second. I just realized that. These should be little b. Which is going to break some code, but it's okay. Anywhere that calls those will be broken. And then on the player, I'll just make sure that these messages can't go. Game mode. That way it won't provide the message before the message is providable. Realistically, this one can't fire anyway. It's only this one that I care about. Because you're not going to lose anything in the beginning. Yeah, I'll just do it on this one. Just because this gets called when the planet is added. And that'll be my band-aid fix. But I'm going to need that game started variable anyway for when I start setting up the timers. Oh, that's not a good check. I need to check it against active players. Yay, okay, so no messages in the beginning. And if I send out some ships, what planet am I on? I have to fix these labels. So I'm on planet 2. Let's see. Planet 0. This is I gained the planet, but it did not flag it as out of bounds. That should have flagged. Oh, you know what though? I wasn't at the end of the count. I was in the middle of the count, right? I was on player 1 or player 2. So there was still another player after that. So by time I got to the end of the list had been updated to only have 3 players. That's why. I think if I was at the end of the list, it would have yelled at me. So let's do that. I'm going to fire, just to kind of confirm my theory. Planet 3. This one. Planet 2, planet 1. I'm just going to keep cycling. Zero. We've got 2 attackers on planet 1. I must have that one. No attackers on planet 3. and those are updating fine. So then who's next? So planet list. Okay, so I own 1, 0, and 3. 1, 0, and 3. So I'm going to be on this one's turn until they get nuked, and then now. So yeah, so it's because of that they're out of bounds. Confirmed. So then what do I do about it? I don't think it'll matter, because once all the turn-based elements are in there, all that stuff is calculated in that null space in between turns. So by the time the next player starts, the list will be updated. So I think I'm good there. Alright, so let's take the time here to fix the name reads on these menus. So this should be Planet 1, Planet 2, and it should say Planet Player, whatever his name is, there. So let's do end turn. That should be pretty quick. So here's my end turn. That's going to be over here. Turn text. Okay. So this should be that player's display name. So instead of doing that, we'll do name. And I'll run this one. So my name is player 1, but it shows player 0's turn. So this is for CPU. Actually, I'll leave this one as display name. This is for networked multiplayer. It's down here that I want to change. Huh. Player 2's turn makes sense. CPU 1 is thinking. CPU 2, player 1's turn, player 2 turn. It's just in the beginning when it starts, I'm not getting the right refresh. So in the beginning, where is that derived from? Game mode, turn. The end turn button isn't getting fired there. That happens on click. So where's the initial update? Am I doing that on the beginning up here? Here's a wonderful web of stuff. No, I already checked this, I think. Player name. There we go. I could just get the player's name, but I will just do player 1's turn here. And then it'll just be consistent. Alright, so player 1's turn makes sense. And I own planet 2. Player 2 turn. Player 2 owns planet 3. CPU 1 is thinking. CPU 2 is thinking. Player 1's turn. So then, because I asked a question earlier, but I want to just throw it out there again. Whenever I jump to a planet, so right now I'm sitting on my home planet and it says owned, right? If I jump to this planet, there we go. It shows the current owner of that planet. So planet 1, CPU 1, or 2, or whatever. Is it better to always display the owning player's name? Or is it perfectly fine for it to say owned if you own it? Is that too ambiguous? Should I just do the player's name? Thoughts? Oh. I'm looking for my phone, but I'm using my phone so I can see chat, and I'm like, duh, there it is. It's funny. But okay. The display name is good there. Let's check the send ships. So I gotta fix the send ships and send resources names here. So that should be pretty simple. I'm gonna grab the send ship menu and I'll get the send ships. It may actually be on the child object. Yeah, it's on the child object. So I need send ship child. I need location child and destination child. Okay, so location child gets the ship. Where is the name passed in? Let's go to where this is called. Change editable text. So I have update ship text and update count text. Where is the planet's text? Menu. Resources. We'll say blueprint scripting is not as convenient as actual code. At least when it comes to debugging. It's like searching through a web of spaghetti. And no matter how nice you want your organization to be, there's just no way to keep this nice. There are some helpful things that you can bend the wires a little bit, but oh, where am I getting the name from? I'm spending way too much time doing that. I should get the from text and just follow that. So from text. That'll be on that child object, ship name. So update ship text. Let's go. Where is this being called? Update ship text. Update ship text. There. So that's the ship name. I need the planet name. Because that's from the ship. Where is the planet? Okay, so update location list. Docked planet. Docked planet's coming in. Here. Location name, there we go. So location name, docked planet, we're getting object name, so we're going to replace that with planet stats. Name. There's a way to get a single item from a struct. I don't remember how to do it, so I'm just gonna expand the struct and grab it from there. But there is a way. I'll pass that in directly like this. Take this off, take that off. I'm not grabbing the thing. And this one is update destination name. Same dealio. Nuke these. Get the planet stats. And then planet name. Let's check how those are reading. So planet 1, where's the planet? Planet 1, and those are being updated correctly. Let me grab a different planet just to see. Okay, so that should be planet 2. Planet 1, planet 2. On the send ships menu, no update yet. Access none, trying to read property. Custom event, destination, planet 1. I wonder why that aired out. What about the other error? I'm going to look somewhere else. It didn't bring me to the correct graph location. So that's that one. Yeah, both of them are on destination. The destination planet should have a name, so I don't know why that would break. Let's make 4 planets. And those are updating correctly. Let me jump to a planet. That's a quirk. If I'm if I select a planet and then jump to it, the menu doesn't update. Also, that's really close. That's right next to my face. Okay. This is just add it to my to-do list. Well, it's about 6 o'clock. I think we're going to jump off and do some dinner. Appreciate you guys joining me. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. The one thing that I'm curious about is whether or not the owning player should be named. Right now it's unowned, but if I own the planet, it just says owned, versus if I go to a planet, it shows who owns it, right? I don't know if it's better to do the one or the other. Oh, that's interesting. So if I jump using the go to button, it gives me unowned. What if I double click? Double click works, but jumping to it using the button doesn't work. Okay. Let me add that to that menu here. Edit. leave myself some notes for later, and then I'll work on it. Alright. Appreciate you guys joining me. I'm going to hop off and grab some dinner.